Let's talk this through by speaking with a public affairs analyst, Muyiwa Ogunlaja, who is joining me here in the studio. It's good to have you on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you, my dear. Good morning, viewers at home.
Yeah. We also have managing editor, Avalon Daily, Ayodele Adio, via Zoom. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Let me start with you, Ayodele, on Zoom. What do you make of this, prolonged strike? It's entered the second month.
I think it's embarrassing as a country that we have left our children at home for over 2 months. It gets even more embarrassing when you realize the reason why our children have been at home for this longer time, or why the federal government has been unable to resolve this impasse with ASUU. The elephant in the room here seems to be two things, basically: the revitalization funds for universities, and of course, the payment platform that ASUU is proposing to use to efficiently pay their workers or their staff across the universities. Now, are you telling me that because of these two issues is why the federal government is unable to resolve what clearly for me is supposed to be the easiest of crises to resolve? Because come to ask the very simple question: how much is the revitalization fund that ASUU is asking for? It's less than 100 billion naira, right? Now, just last week, the federal government had approached the National Assembly demanding 4 trillion naira to spend on petrol subsidy in 2022. Now, if you're a lecturer in the university, if you're a vice chancellor, or you're a student in a Nigerian university sitting at your home watching the television, you will be scandalized that your country is borrowing 4 trillion naira to fund consumption, whereas its universities are dead, unable to compete, and it's on strike because of a lack of investment in quality education in our institutions. So for me, it's an embarrassing situation to be in as a country. I expect more from the federal government to at least live up to the promises or the agreements that they have made with the academic staff union, universities, and of course do a little bit more to show that they are interested in educating their citizens and to put their monies where their mouth is and make the required investments that are necessary in improving the quality of education in our country. At the moment, it's a complete fiasco. It is just a demonstration that the political leadership of this country cares less about the educational sector in our country. Because, of course, we can educate our children in the UK, in the United States, in Singapore, or wherever it is that they are sending their children to. And then every other person can be banded to the Philistines in the country. It's embarrassing. It's a national shame. And I think that the Nigerian people should not stand for this nonsense.
All right. Let me bring it to the studio. Why has the federal government failed to, respect the collective bargaining agreement it's signed with the unions and tertiary institutions? It's taking too long for them to honor this agreement.
Well, thank you. The Nigerian government has this penchant for not honoring agreements signed. I want to see that agreement signed by the government trade union that has ever been fully implemented. None. Is it to the Medical Association of Nigeria? No. Is it the Nigerian Union of Teachers? No. Is it to ASUU? None. It will surprise you that the past 20 years, ASUU has been on strike for more than 16 times and close to 51 months. If you take away 51 months from the calendar session, that's almost 3 sessions. That means ASUU has been on strike for a period enough to give ASUU a first degree in industrial action. So the federal government is not all that keen because of its poor funding of education. Government is not ready to pump money into education. I mean, the government knows that if you are properly educated, most of these ideas that you are taking will not be easily swallowed and hook, line, and sinker. Maybe that's why the government is not doing that. Even UNESCO advised that 50% of any nation's budget should go into education. In Nigeria, what we are getting is about 7% of the total budget. So to say, because government is not really ready, it's not that the money is not there. I don't want to believe that. How much is 1.1 trillion naira? It's not up to what they're asking for subsidy, and it's not up to what those people just sitting down, sleeping, are collecting every month as allowances and salaries. I mean those in National Assembly. And it's not up to what the presidency is wasting on frivolities. It's just a matter of priority. Government is not ready to do that, and I think ASUU is not ready to be cajoled. It's unfortunate that ASUU workers have been working for the past 12 years, and there has been no improvement in their conditions of service. Imagine a lecturer having less than the other 800,000 every month, and other lecturers have about 500,000 every month. Whereas one year man will just go to National Assembly, and before you know it, he's earning 25 million.
You don't want to call people who are representing us at the National Assembly.
Get me right. I'm not talking about in social status. I'm referring to in terms of education. You cannot compare a professor who has a PhD and you're not giving him less than 800,000 and someone to ordinary school set, or let's say OND is now collecting millions of naira. That's enough what I'm saying. I am of the opinion that the more you are read, the more you should be remunerated. I think that is it. Well, that's not the case in Nigeria. That's my meaning of saying.
You're right.
That,
right. Is it okay to see from the angle that we've got different sectors? We've got the health, we've got power, we've got education, which we are discussing. We've got economy and so on and so forth. That we don't have enough revenue generated enough to go around, to all of these sectors. Could it be that's the reason why we're having this issue in the education sector?
No, I disagree with that. I agree that there are other sectors to be taken care of. But I'm saying that it is a matter of priority. If we prioritize education, definitely we will give adequate funding to education. Mind you, a nation that is educated is a nation that is in wealth and that has a bright future. Yeah. So if you're really educated, you can go to research findings, and those findings can lead to establishment of industries. Don't forget the way Google came up. Don't forget the way WhatsApp came up. Don't forget the way Bill Gates became a billionaire through research findings that were implemented. So what stops Nigerian government from encouraging education to the extent that researches can be conducted and these findings can be commercialized, and that will now revolutionize our industries and our economy will become what you want. So it's a matter of priority, and I think it's time government started looking at how to prioritize education and give to education what it deserves, as advised by the World Health, by the United Nations.
Right. Let me go to Ayodele on Zoom. Does it appear to you like those in authorities are comfortable to some extent, or to a reasonable extent, to see the students staying back home without going to school? He talked about people not going to school, lecturers receiving low amounts of money, and so on and so forth. Does it appear like they're comfortable seeing all of this, or is it that there's just not enough to go around?
I think it appears that they are comfortable with it, but I think the deeper problem is the lack of understanding of how quality education links to socioeconomic outcomes. Our political leadership do not understand or seem to understand the role that education plays in national development. And it explains why in the last 40 years in Nigeria, we don't seem to be solving any serious social problem in our country, whether it's water supply, whether it's power, whether it's infrastructure. We don't seem to be solving any problem in any sector in our country in the last 40 years. We've increased poverty and unemployment. Insecurity is flooding our country, restive youths across the nation. We're not solving anything. We're retrogressing as a country, and largely because we haven't enough educated citizens who have the quality to inject ideas and innovation into the economy, right? So you have a leadership that does not understand that there is a strong link or a strong correlation between the quality of your educational sector, the quality and the capacity of your citizens with socioeconomic outcomes. And that's why they are so comfortable allowing students to stay at home for several months without the urgency, without the sense of urgency to resolve some of these issues. And I do not buy the argument that our country lacks resources. Of course, on paper, we are borrowing a whole lot of money. If you look at our debt burden, it's huge. And to a large extent, you can make the argument that we probably do not have as much resources and then enough monies cannot go around. But the reality on ground is that Nigeria has a spending problem. We're spending billions of money changing cars for politicians. Listen, it looks like Nigeria is set up to service the political elite because we buy them new houses, we buy them new cars, their children get education abroad, and then our educational sector is dying, our health sector is dying, our infrastructure is dying, and we keep mounting and parroting the same thing over and over again, that we don't have enough monies, whereas we have enough monies to service the extravagant lifestyle of our political elite.
Right.
So what needs to change going forward is that the Nigerian people must cease to tolerate the excuse that educational sector cannot move forward because government has no money. The Nigerian people must begin to put pressure on its elected officials to say it is no longer acceptable for students to be at home for months and for our universities to be shut down while our political elite have their kids abroad and can fly across the world on taxpayers' funds. It makes absolutely no sense. And so we need a clear plan to revitalize our education, but more importantly, to link our educational sector to the requirements of our local economies and our local needs. There are graduate gluts. We are producing so many graduates that are not fit in the marketplace. And that is a consequence of a lack of funding in our universities, a lack of planning. There is no national plan, my brother. We don't have a plan. We're blinking in the dark. We don't know the kind of graduates that we want. We don't know the kind of economy that we want to build. We don't have a competitive advantage. So we don't even know the kind of graduates that we need to continue to build a competitive advantage, whether it is regionally or internationally. It's a complete mess, and it hurts me so bad that you have the political leadership that is just, there is no sense of urgency. We're taking it as business as usual. And it's okay that our students are now learning tailoring. It's okay that our students are now learning hairdressing. It's okay that university students are now learning how to polish nails. It's okay to learn a new skill. It's embarrassing as a country. And we must
let me quickly butt in, Ayodele, before I bring it back to the studio. You know, our guest in the studio made reference to, you know, funding research. And then you also made an allusion to that. But then I put it to you that there's been lots and lots of research done into this issue we are talking about, you know, solving the perennial strike issues between the federal government and ASUU. And we know that the academia has actually produced people who are in government today. Why is it difficult for them to also implement what they've probably researched about?
Very interesting question. They probably crossed over to the other side where it is good and merry. All right? And they forgot their struggle, probably. Listen, we all have to come to an agreement. We have to ask ourselves a question. Is education for us an investment or a cost? And if we agree that education is an investment and is the only tool that can move our country forward, and is the only vehicle upon which we can move national development, then we must come to terms that we need to fund our education better. We need to get our universities running. We need to improve the quality of education, the quality of teaching, the quality of facilities in our universities. We have to actually come to that point. And at the moment, it just looks like it's ASUU against the federal government. And all of us are going out about our own business, like it doesn't matter to us. But you and I are hiring people at our workplaces. We're seeing the quality of graduates that our universities are producing. We're complaining that they are not fit for purpose. Where do we think they are coming out from? Why do we think we can't compete globally? Why do we think our economy is suffering? Why do you think the private sector is not creating enough jobs? Why do you think we're not solving our power problems? Why do you think we're not solving our infrastructural problems? Why do you think we're bewildered with problems across our country? It's because we don't have the capacity and the capabilities to solve these problems. And the reason we don't have those capabilities is because our educational sector is in the medieval times, is in the dark. Right. And we cannot move forward except quality investments is made in that sector.
All right, let me bring you back to the studio. Government's narratives have been varied. You know, sometimes it's argued that it has met all the demands, you know, all the requirements, you know, for ASUU, for them to return back to school. And at other times, it argued that the terms were yet to be firmly agreed upon and are subject to renegotiations. Which exactly should we believe?
Government is just buying time. Government is just buying time. So the point is that until there is a tenacity of purpose, Until government is so determined and resolved that education must be given its a place of pride in our nation, that's what can get out of this problem. I must say that there's also need for ASUU to be a bit parent-like. When I say parent-like, there's hardly any professor in this country that's not having at least 1 or 2 words in the university. Not all of them are privileged enough to send their children abroad. So that case, you should only consider the plight of these children. That's not to say that government should neglect them. Government must find a way of funding these people. If government could get way of funding bandits, whose trade has now been called, they are doing what we call economic trade. That what they are doing is a business. Then government should only do enough money for ASUU, who are doing better business than what the bandits are doing. I think it's just reorientation. We must prioritize. We must give education what it deserves so that this country can be moved forward. For now, we are sleeping on the cake of gunpowder. We have many social vices here and there because, mind you, on one sort of idle hands is the drug boost workshop. They're not doing anything. They're just sleeping and waking up. Most of our ladies are now prostitutes. Most of our men are armed robbers and this and that. Some are actually, some cannot even write their names properly. Some can't write ordinary essays, and they are graduates. And mind you, they will come back to nurture the young ones just coming up. What are they nurturing? You have not heard anything. You have not learned anything. I want to impact it to others. What are you to impact? What kind of doctors are going to train? What kind of lawyers are going to have in court medicine? What kind of teachers will be there to bring up these children? So the question is that the first will boomerang, and by the time it snow dives, all of us will be in trouble. I hope we'll not be in trouble in this country.
Amen. I'll stay with you quickly. Well, it's been argued that you also made reference to that education is synonymous to national development.
Yes.
Among the Committee of Nations in Africa, we know Nigeria as a giant of Africa.
Yeah.
But now we've got Nigerians who are going to places in the countries like Benin Republic, Ghana, etc., to further their education. We know those who are affected from Ukraine.
Yeah.
Should we stay comfortably in our lane that we are not interested in education, or does that mean you're not overly optimistic about what's to come, that we are just going to get out of these doldrums?
You see, actually, what happened in Ukraine to our medical students should be an eye-opener. If you go to Benin Republic now, 80% of students in Benin Republic are Nigerians. All because of what is happening at home. Which means if government is really serious about funding education, government can as well get the impact of the education. Mind you, there's only what's called return on investment. If you do enough investment in education, the returns will be there for you. As of now, out of the almost 201 universities in Nigeria, just 45 are federal government owned, and about, it's not up to 45. Federal government owned, are they up to 45? I don't even think so. I think federal government owned are just 49K, are just 47. Then 57 for states, 49 for federal government, and private universities 99. If private universities could have 109, that means there is a lot of prospects. These federal and these private universities that are pumping money are not idiots. They know that very soon the returns will come. And when the returns come, it will come first to them. So it's because of that they are plowing money. So if private institutions could have enough money plowed into them, what stops government? I think government should just sit up and let us say that, yes, let us prioritize education. If almost half of Nigerians are graduates, all these social vices will stop. Nigerians will find work to do for themselves. Because the pride that I'm a graduate will not want to go into armed robbery. That I'm a graduate will not want to go to prostitution. But because you're not even in school, and we are in school, you have not graduated, you have not done anything, you have not learned anything, you can decide to do whatever you like. Federal government, please wake up and let us prioritize education.
Right. Ayodele, very quickly, I'm not sure whether you saw the tweet on the social media between Rema, a university and Unilag, saying that since I've gained admission into Unilag, I have not even resumed for classrooms. And then another university, I can't remember the name now, saying that if you are with us, a private university, then you won't experience strike. And Unilag also responded that, we are sorry, and then we promise that we'll get back to school very soon. So what do you make of this? It sounds more like a joke but it's a reality. The masses have been affected, especially the children from poor homes.
Doesn't it embarrass you? Like I mean, you have your finger right on the button. While it's a comic relief, it is one that saddens Nigerians. Because Rema, for instance, is an artist that has a global platform, right? And his tweets are read by people across the world, and they'll be wondering why university students would be at home in a country like Nigeria. It's really embarrassing. I like what Mr. Muyiwa said. We probably might have to come to a middle ground, between ASUU and the federal government in the short term, because it clearly looks that this political class are really not ready to invest in education. So we cannot continue to afford to keep our children at home for a very long time. So, I mean, it's hard to say, because what will happen eventually is that lecturers will say, okay, no problem, come to class, garbage in, garbage out, because that's what is going to happen at the expense of keeping our kids at home. So for me, the only solution out of this is for ASUU, which is a strong bloc in our country, and university students make a huge population in our country. They will have to stand as a bloc to say that the next set of political elites that will come into office must have a clear plan for education. If you don't have a clear educational plan to move the educational sector forward, the ASUU bloc, the National Association of Students, should not support any political officer or any political party that does not have a clear plan and a commitment to move education forward. You see politicians campaigning across the country now. They are telling you they want power. None of them is telling you they want to move education forward. None of them is showing you the plan to move. It's embarrassing that schools are on strike and your leading candidates are not showing you a plan to move education forward. It is on us, it's incumbent on us, on ASUU and the students, to make a clear choice in 2023 and going forward to elect the political class that will prioritize education and move it forward. That is the only solution. Because at the moment, the current political elites do not care. Their kids are abroad, and they would rather have this educational sector die than make the required investment in it.
All right. Your final thoughts here in studio, Mr. Ogunlaja, or apropos of what he said, should we say that if you are holding any political office, none of your wards, your children should attend private. No, should go abroad to study. You can attend private university within the country, but to go abroad and study, should we make it? Should we enshrine that in our constitution?
Well, that should be against what is called freedom of expression.
No. If you are coming to serve, you must be able to pay certain things.
There are fundamental human rights. Right. Nigeria is one of the Committee of Nations, and the entire world is now a small village. We must not ostracize ourselves from what's happening all over the world. And that notwithstanding, in Nigeria, you can make that a proviso. If you really know that you want to come and serve and let us see that, yes, you are serving because your own interest too will be at stake. I wonder if you have a minister for education whose children will be at home, whether education will be handled this way. I wonder if there is a minister for employment whose children will be at home, whether this issue will still be like this. But because they are not directly connected, they are not directly involved, they are not all that concerned. The truth is that there is no way you will be involved and that you not feel the pinch. Right. There is a saying that he who wears the shoes wears pinches. Because they do not wear it, because they are so comfortable, not only affect them, they take delight in just looking. Then more importantly, Nigerians must wake up. Nigerians, we are too complacent. Most of us actually see between ASUU and government. Hey, it is ASUU and government. They've started again, forgetting that these people are fighting for our all rights. So that an average Nigerian citizen can have education good enough to make him go abroad and stand shoulder to shoulder with those who are overseas. In those good old days, Nigerian institutions were rated very highly. But now, go to the list of records, you will see that maybe the best Nigerians are about number 800. That's killing.
Well, I think we need to,
We need to do something about that.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a convenient point for us
Yes.
to actually leave it. We know those who didn't wear shoes when they were going to school, and when they started wearing shoes, we know where we were left. Absolutely.
got it
So,
there.
public affairs analyst Moyiwa Ogulaja, thank you so much. And via Zoom has been managing editor Avalon Daily, Ayodele Adio. Thank you very kindly for your insights this morning.
Thank you.